Guten Abend, London, good evening, Manchester, and a very cautious hello to anyone currently trying to access TikTok from a VPN in a basement in Surrey. Welcome to the Outside View Show UK. I'm coming to you from Germany, the land of efficiency, bread that can be used as a blunt force weapon, and a chancellor who actually stays in office for more than a fiscal quarter. It's lovely over here. We have trains that arrive on time and a political system that is frankly much less like a season of Love Island written by Franz Kafka. And that with the trains was a joke, obviously. But we're here to talk about the United Kingdom, and what a week it has been. If you thought 2025 was a fever dream, 2026 has decided to hold its beer and jump off a cliff. So let's dive into the headlines from the last 7 days. And we start with foreign policy, or as it's currently known in Downing Street, how to tell Donald Trump to go away without losing our trade deal. Last week, Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been busy, very busy. He's been on the phone to Denmark, he's been on the phone to the EU, and he's been on the phone to Mar-a-Lago. And why? Because apparently it's 2026 and we are still arguing about Greenland, or as Trump calls it, Iceland. Donald Trump, who's back and louder than a leaf blower at 6 a.m., spent the week threatening the UK with tariffs and stuff like that because Starmer won't support his plan to buy Greenland. And yeah, that's where we are. The President of the United States wants to buy a massive ice cube, and Keir Starmer, a man who looks like he's constantly checking the expiration date on a carton of semi-skimmed milk, has to be the voice of reason. Starmer said the future of Greenland is for the people of Greenland. Trump replied by saying the UK's deal on the Chagos Island was weak. And it's the ultimate playground fight here. If I can't have your giant island, I'm going to tell everyone you gave your small islands away for free. Keir, buddy, just tell him Greenland is full of wind turbines and vegetable-based sausages. He'll lose interest in 5 minutes. Closer to home, the government has unveiled a plan so Labour it actually hurts. Housing Secretary Steve Reed announced last week that 29 local councils will simply not have elections this May. And why? Because the government is reorganizing them. It's once-in-a-generation reform, they say. It's streamlining, they say. I call it the Great British Election Ghosting. Imagine being a local councillor right now. You haven't done anything about the potholes. The library is closed and the bins are only collected on leap years. You're bracing for a landslide defeat. And then Keir Starmer walks in and says, "Good news, Dave. We've cancelled democracy for a year. You're safe." And naturally, the opposition is thrilled. Nigel Farage is currently filing a judicial review faster than he can tweet a picture of a pint. He says 20 of those councils would have been won by Reform UK. And he's probably right. At this rate, by 2027, the only person left in local governments will be a single civil servant in a high-vis vest named Gary, who's responsible for all of Yorkshire. Speaking of Nigel, let's talk about the opposition, or what's left of it. Last week, Robert Jenrick, the man who spent the last year trying to outright wing a right-hand turn, finally defected to Reform UK. He follows a trail of breadcrumbs and lost deposits left by other Conservatives here. And the Conservative Party under Kemi Badenoch is currently like a sinking ship where the passengers aren't even getting into lifeboats. They're just jumping into the shark's mouth because the shark promised them a lower immigration cap. And one poll last week put Reform at 31%, with the Tories at 21% and Labour at 17%. And if these numbers are right, the next Prime Minister will be Nigel Farage. The Deputy PM will be a statue of Winston Churchill, and the official national anthem will be the sound of a foghorn. And meanwhile, Kemi Badenoch is trying to maintain discipline. She expelled Jenrick before he could quit. It's the political equivalent of, "You can't break up with me. I already changed the locks and burned your hoodies." And because there isn't enough drama in Westminster, we have the Andrew Gwynn resignation. Gwynn is stepping down for health reasons, which we genuinely wish him the best for. But in the world of Labour politics, this is like throwing a piece of raw steak into a kennel. and the whispers are deafening. Andy Burnham is looking for a way back into Parliament. The Mayor of Manchester, the King in the North, this time no Targaryen, the man whose eyelashes have their own fan club. And Starmer's allies are reportedly launching a Stop Andy Burnham campaign. They are terrified. If Burnham gets a seat, he's like the final boss in a video game that Keir hasn't finished yet. Keir is standing there with his little wooden sword of fiscal responsibility, and Burnham is charging in with a warhammer made of regional devolution and northern soul records. It's the battle of the century. The man who looks like a solicitor versus the man who looks like he's about to headline Glastonbury. And finally, the House of Lords has decided that the biggest threats to the UK isn't the cost of living or the NHS or the fact that Freddos now cost £5. No, it's smartphones. Peers are pushing for a ban on social media for under 16s and restrictions on VPNs. Because that always works, doesn't it? Telling a 14-year-old they can't use a VPN, that's like telling a seagull it's not allowed to steal chips. It's their primary function. And I can see the black market now. Kids in school playgrounds swapping encrypted USB sticks behind the bike shed. You got any of that TikTok, mate? I've got some unblocked Instagram reels from a server in Frankfurt. But hey, maybe it's a good thing. If the kids are off their phones, they might notice the 29 councils that aren't having elections. Or they might look up and see Donald Trump trying to tow Greenland across the Atlantic with a fleet of gold-plated tugboats. And quickly across the borders. Scotland. First Minister's questions was a bloodbath last week over the Glasgow hospital inquiry. The Scottish government is essentially a very polite room where everyone is shouting, "It's not my fault," in a variety of beautiful accents. And Wales? Plaid Cymru has ruled out a coalition with Reform and the Tories for the 2026 Senate elections, which leaves them with Labour, who currently have a poll rating lower than a limbo's dancer's kneecaps. Good luck with that. And Northern Ireland? Hilary Benn is trying to fix the legacy laws. In Northern Ireland, legacy is a polite word for the thing that makes everyone want to throw chairs at each other. Good luck, Hilary. You'll need it. That's it for this week's Outside Views, and the UK is currently a country where the government is cancelling elections, the opposition is joining a different party, the mayor of Manchester is lurking in the shadows like a handsome Batman, and the Americans want to buy a frozen wasteland that doesn't belong to them. Honestly, England, I love you. But from here in Germany, you're making us look like the normal ones. And we still have a Met Eagle. That's a hedgehog made of raw pork as a party snack. So think about that. I'm Marc, and this was the Outside View UK show tonight. Good night, Britain. Stay safe. And for God's sake, don't tell Trump where Iceland is.